Oh my lord! It's stabilizing. We're stabilizing. Okay, we're live. I'm alive. You're alive. We're alive.
Barely. I don't know what's happening, but I'm alive, man.
Oh,
I'm trying to figure out why I'm like I got the moonlight on my face right now. I don't know why.
you do. Actually, you're coming in a little hot on your mic. I think.
Okay, that's what I was worried about.
A little bit. Oh, now I feel like you're a little too hot.
How about now?
On the mic.
How about now?
Yeah, much better. Oh yeah, much better. Make
How
it a little
about
louder. Little louder. Little louder.
How about now?
Yeah.
Good.
Little louder. Little louder.
Little louder? It was that's where it was before.
No. Turn it down. Turn it down. Just a little bit.
How about now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Hey.
Hey, I'm trying to figure out how to make my skin not look like it's on fire. I don't know why this camera's doing this.
Yeah, you kind of look like Moonface.
I know.
Or something.
I don't normally look like that, but
let me ask you a question. Since we're talking about Army of the Dead, let me ask you.
I look like Army of the Dead right now.
No, let me ask. Since we're talking about Army of the Dead, let me ask you about the Aquabats Super Fun Hour. Ask you.
Okay, sure. Ask me about. I haven't seen Aquabat stuff in probably 12 years.
Oh my god, they have a cart. My son is obsessed, and they have a cartoon, and there's a character, and his name is Moon Cheese, and he is delightful, and it talks like this, and he lives on the moon, and it's just really great. And that's all I wanted to say about that. Oh, welcome to the show, Bob.
Hey, thank you for having me. This has been the most interesting start I've ever had on your show. It's a lot of stuff going on, Jeff. It's new and exciting.
Oh yeah, so let me show you around before we begin. Let me just show you around. So this is my new setup.
Okay.
I've officially, thank you to my Patreons, I have officially been able to upgrade, take things up to a next notch. So we now have much more fancier accoutrement.
Skulls. I noticed the skulls.
Yeah, I decorated. Yeah. I added some skulls for decoration, and I have my name. Now you can see my name and a moon face. If you look, there is a moon. There is a moon face.
Is on top now, man. You did it.
Yes. Yeah. I'm so happy about it. It makes me happy. But yeah, I love talking to you, Bob. We're really good at talking about this stuff in general, and I could think of no person better to talk about Zack Snyder than with you, because we've had such a deep meditation on Zack Snyder to begin with.
Also, it seems that I would say, now I'm only basing this on sporadically looking at my Facebook timeline. I think it seems that most of our mutual friends pretty much loathe Zack Snyder. So you only really have me to talk about.
Yeah, because
I think everyone pretty much hates him. So
I like Zack Snyder a lot. However,
I find him very interesting. You know that.
Yes. Yeah. And I will say, however, I feel like this movie really peels just to dive right in. This movie really peels the veneer back on the inner machinations and workings of Zack Snyder in all of our previous conversations. Before we get there, though, I'm going to just do a brief intro for those of you who are not familiar with Army of the Dead. It is premiered on Netflix, and everybody's talking about it. However, Army of the Dead goes way back. I mean, way, way, way back. I'm talking I remember hearing about Army of the Dead almost 15 years ago, I want to say. Right after Dawn of the Dead came out, the trades, there was trade scuttlebutt about another film. It was unknown as to whether it would be a continuation of Dawn of the Dead or it was a separate zombie project. Ving Rhames, who was in the Dawn of the Dead remake, was also attached to be in this version of Army of the Dead, and it involved a father traveling across a wasteland to get to his daughter during the zombie apocalypse, or whatever you want to call it. And a common trope that you see in a lot of zombie literature, which I think is super, almost excruciatingly tiresome. However, at that time, it might have been a little bit more fresh and relevant. So,
well, I think, are you talking about the family issues popping up in zombie lore? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, yeah, I mean, that too, but I'm more referring to I'm more referring to like it seems that in apocalyptic literature and apocalyptic literature that has zombies, it always is about the trying to even in books I read. David Wellington wrote this phenomenal zombie series called Monster. It was Monster Island, Monster World, and Monster Planet. It was a trilogy, and it was a really interesting, well done series. And that was all about getting to his daughter, and it was just like I saw and The Rising by Brian Keene. For those of you familiar with Brian Keene, I know Mike Lombardo is. You have a father trying to get to his child. It's such a common trope. And that was supposed to be what the original Army of the Dead was going to be all about or something. And I kind of like rolled my eyes.
You're talking like Zack Snyder was talking about this all the way back in 2004. Like that's what you're saying. I don't remember that. So that's what I'm asking. It's not the studio was talking about it. It's specifically Snyder wanted to make Army of the Dead for that long is what you're saying?
Well, I think he had been trying. Yeah, he'd been trying to make it or something. And this isn't just a Zack Snyder vehicle. This is, I would almost call this Zack Snyder authorship, because Zack Snyder wrote it, directed, produced it. I don't know if he edited it, but he shot it. So this is Zack Snyder. This is Zack Snyder on top of Zack Snyder on top of Zack Snyder on top of Zack Snyder.
I was like, for the longest time, a little history with my opinion on this movie before we ever saw it was, anyone can go back and watch our other episodes to see where I stand on all his other stuff. But I've been saying for so long, I've been saying this since pretty much Man of Steel. Like, this Army of Dead is what he should be doing. Like,
right.
Like, I've been saying that forever, even though everyone just throws a sucker punch back in your face when you say that, but in the end, I'm like, he is such an auteur. I don't want to see him fool with other people's ideas. Let him do his thing with his own ideas. If I like it or don't, it's whatever, but at least it's purely him. And that's where he works best.
Right. Live by your sword or die by your sword.
You're right. Like, he doesn't need to have all these properties. He has such a strong voice, whether you love it or hate it. Let him just do original stuff.
I agree with that.
So I've been excited about this for that reason.
Wait a minute.
I wanted to see full, unfiltered Army of the Dead, Zack Snyder.
I actually disagree with what you're saying, because Watchmen.
Right. Well, I mean, I would even argue that I actually like Watchmen. I like 300
and Dawn of the Dead.
I like Watchmen. Dawn of the Dead is a James Gunn movie more than it is a Zack Snyder
movie. Hold on. Wait. Oh, hold on. Letter opener. Right to the. Oh!
Are you seriously disagree with that? Really?
No. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm just saying that was harsh. That was harsh. No, that's not true, man.
Come on, Jeff. The reason that movie is so it's a good movie. It is. It's a good movie, and the reason it stands is because of James Gunn more than Zack Snyder. He had a blueprint to make a good movie, which he hasn't had since then, by the way.
You just nailed it on the head right there, by the way, which is what that's kind of part of my thesis for this whole conversation that we're about to have. You just nailed it on the head.
Yeah.
This movie, Zack Snyder works best when he's not writing. He's not the writer, he works best, dude.
I can't even imagine most people would disagree with that. Even maybe some of his hardened fans would probably agree.
300, Dawn of the Dead, Watchmen. And if you want to go into DC, I would even say Man of Steel. Like, everything, all of those things are elevated, because what happens is Zack Snyder has, and the only reason why I'm saying all this right now is because I've watched Army of the Dead now.
Yeah.
And again, and we're going to listen, we're going to be probably a little, even I'm going to be harsh on Zack Snyder, and I'm probably the most forgiving. I'm going to be a little harsh here, but I also want to talk about the positives. I think there's positives and there's shortcomings. There's both. So we're not, first of all, I want to say
we're not here to shit on him or praise him. We're not here either. We're just there's lots of both.
First of all, I want to say overall, Army of the Dead for me was an enjoyable, fun popcorn jaunt. Like something I can turn my brain off. It doesn't require any work. There's no work on my end, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. I sat there and I watched, and I'll tell you, you know what the testament to anything that's good, a testament to something being really good, Bob, and you tell me if you disagree or not.
I will.
Is how many times can does it have rewatch value? Am I putting it on again? Because there are things that I love and that I praise and that I think are great, but I watch it once and I'm like, I don't know if I could sit through that again.
Yeah, you never want to like hang with it again, you know?
Right.
You never want you never want to like chill with it again.
Right. Yeah. And there are things that Zack Snyder, I mean, there are things that people who I have great esteem and praise and critical, like nothing but critical glory for, who I'm like, okay, I watched it once. I don't know what it would be like to sit through this again. I'm not sure I want to. I'm not going to. Yeah. However, I got to tell you, I have sat through more Zack Snyder films than most other films of filmmakers who I hold in critical esteem. And it's because there's something there that I like to re-experience over and over. And that is a testament to Zack Snyder's craft.
To go along with what you said, and I hope I'm not calling back to our older episodes too much here, but
go ahead.
It would be dishonest for me to say I haven't rewatched his movies a lot, because I don't know if it's in the same vein as what you're saying as like far as craft, but I've seen Man of Steel more times than I can count, and it's honestly so I could figure it out. What he's saying, why he's saying it, why did they let this happen? It's an interest in like, how did this all come to fruition? Plus, on top of that, it's all so beautiful. It's like, it all looks so good. On top of it, I'm like, why? I don't know if I'm enjoying it. I don't know if I'm hating it, but I'm kind of like, why? If I could give my small review, just like you did, just the overall review of Army of the Dead, I just got finished watching it. I've seen it 1.5 times because I only got to 0.5 because we had to do this. So I think I liked it slightly less than you did, but I still liked it. I think my expectations were higher, but I don't know outside. I don't know if I even would have watched it a second time right now if it wasn't for this show. Like, I was doing it just so I'm refreshed for you, but like, I guess my my thoughts about it are, which we can get into, is that it's not as fun, or it doesn't know how to have as much fun that I was hoping it would. And I guess the reason is I was thinking too much about Dawn of the Dead, because Dawn of the Dead is a movie that knows how to have fun. James Gunn knows how to have fun.
Oh yeah.
It's not even arguable. We all know that. But Zack Snyder's idea of having fun is very peculiar and weird. It's once again interesting. A movie that starts out with a blowjob causing the entire zombie apocalypse is hilarious, and it's like a good idea that like, it's funny, it's dark,
it's just so trivial. It's so trivial.
It's like then you start to get into the movie, and it's just the tonal variance in this movie is very odd to me. I don't know if I did. It's really weird, right? Like, there's some true heaviness in it. And it's like, but then the whole time I'm watching it, the parts like Dave Bautista's almost crying, and I'm like, didn't this start out with a blowjob? I thought that was the movie. Is the blowjob causing the zombie apocalypse?
Credits. I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah, right.
I want to jump in here about the opening credit sequence.
Please do.
Because much like, one of the best things, and again, I don't think Dawn of the Dead remake is as perfect. We've talked about
I don't think it's perfect. I wasn't trying to say that.
I know you weren't.
I think it's a solid movie.
It's a solid movie, and it's a movie that I've revisited many, many times over the years. And it's a film that aggravates me to no end because of some of the character motivations, much like that, and that get retreaded here as well. But the thing that some of the best filmmaking.
I want to interrupt you 1 second, Jeff, because I know you love it. Sure. You know what would have made Dawn of the Dead a fucking masterpiece in everyone's eyes?
What?
If you replaced Ty Burrell with Campbell.
Oh my God.
Imagine that slight change. And then imagine watching that when he takes this chainsaw to all the zombies. I would like even in the theater. I was like, "Why isn't this guy Bruce Campbell? Why didn't they pay Bruce Campbell to be this guy?"
They wanted
anyway.
Bruce Campbell, and they were just like,
I don't know if they
Bruce
did.
Campbell
Kind of looks like Bruce Campbell. He's playing a dickhead.
Yep.
He's playing an arrogant dickhead. I was like, this is written for Bruce Campbell. Tell me it's not. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I had to say that.
No, that's okay. No, I love that, actually. I love that. And, you know, the best, by far, for me, the best part of The Dawn of the Dead is the opening credit sequence. Nothing has ever floored me in a movie theater besides maybe Mad Max Fury Road, like the opening credits to Dawn of the Dead. Having me at the edge of my seat with my jaw hanging open at the ferocious attack that leads into this credit sequence that shows the end of the world and the collapse of civilization.
Right.
And it feels so real. And then once again, as a nod to that, you know, Zack Snyder does the same thing. He goes, you know, he does this opening Elvis, Las Vegas sequence.
And it's Richard Cheese again. It's Richard Cheese.
Yeah, it's Richard Cheese again. Instead of doing Down with the Sickness, he's doing Viva Las Vegas. And, you know, again, this is when Zack Snyder, to me, that opening sequence, that is Zack Snyder at his absolute best, at his finest moments.
Yes, and number one, I agree with you, Jeff. Number two, I'd say for all of his critics that are right is that he's at heart kind of a music video director. Like he kind of is.
Oh my God, yes.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the problems that people see in his work maybe stem from that too. Like it kind of feels like whenever you get to one of those musical montages, like the whole movie was in service of just getting here. You know what I mean? Like that's all he wanted to do when he got to these musical weird ass pin drops. You know what I mean? It's just like
but what's interesting is there is not. But what's great about it, you know, we're just calling it music video, and I feel like
we need to call it.
Yeah, there's story in it.
There is story in it.
That's what elevates it. It elevates the music video-ness so much more because
more so with Army than with Dawn. Like I would say this one actually tells the other movie that we didn't watch before this movie started.
And that's why I'm like, and they do this. He does the same thing in Watchmen masterfully. Like he's like, there's all this backstory. There's all these backstory characters from the 40s. Let's do a musical montage and show their history. And he does it.
Even if you hate Watchmen, like I said, you have to agree that the opening credits and the creation of Doc Manhattan are two masterfully done sequences, even if you hate the rest of everything. And those two sequences, the opening, it's just so well done. And they tell the story. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree.
And it's like that opening sequence, like there are characters that are killed off that we never meet. We never find out anything about. Everything we learn about them happens in this opening montage. It establishes a backstory without actually explaining anything, which is kind of funny because here's a guy who's literally cutting edge with like visual storytelling in this part of the movie, and then resorts to like ham-fisted, like spoon-fed exposition later on in the story. And it's just like, it's infuriating because of how talented he is with what he did in the opening credits.
It's what I was going to say to mount on what you're saying is watching it a second time. It's amazing how inefficient he is with his own talent. Like, for example, we're talking for anyone that's watching this. We're hoping you've already seen the movie, right? Like, this is all spoilers.
Like, fuck you if you haven't.
Right. What are you watching this for? You know, like in the opening Richard Cheese segment, they show Dave Bautista. Basically, his partner is holding a little girl while zombies surround her, and the last segment of the wall is being dropped down on top of it.
Oh, so brilliant!
Great image. Everything's great.
There's pathos
in it. Everything. So I'm watching for my second time, and then we get to the part where it goes to Dave Bautista having the nightmare about when he had to kill his own wife. And I was thinking to myself, I was like, you know, it's only a second draft of a script where you could have just easily incorporated his own pain and that moment into the wall dropping moment. And we don't need another exposition scene nightmare thing of him. We've already seen his pain.
Or you could just do it's
do
literally a callback. Like
that woman, the woman that died could have been his wife. It didn't. There's no reason that wasn't his wife. You know what I mean? I was just like, why do we have to have a separate?
There's hundreds of moments like this in this movie. Not this. I mean, just like screenplay things.
It's just how inefficient is it that he doesn't go, well, wait a minute. What if his family just dies as he's leaving the city instead of showing it later again, making this 2.5 hours long for no reason?
Right. And I got to tell you, here's an example of really, really bad storytelling, screenwriting. And again, we've just praised Zack Snyder for his positives. So I'm going to touch on something that I find frustrating as a Zack Snyder fan, F-A-N. I'm a fan, so don't hate me for what I'm about to say. Like, I just want to put that out there because I'm a filmmaker and you're a filmmaker. And like, again, like we should be allowed to address things in a critical way as long as it's constructive. And so what I'm looking at as from a filmmaking perspective is like, it's a 2.5 hour film. And we get to the last half hour and I'm like, or the last 45 minutes, I'm going, but there's so much that like there's so much. Yeah. There's only 45 minutes left. And it's like, well, Jeff, it's a 2.5 hour film. All this stuff has happened. I'm like, that to me is indicative of a screenplay, of a story that was not refined. And that's what I mean. It was not refined. It was not like rewritten enough.
Yes. I was going to say the exact feeling you're talking about. The way that Zack Snyder wrote this is at no point, even when they get to the city, do I feel like the movie has started. I don't know why. There's something about that he has some weird problem with inciting incidents that it just doesn't feel like it started. I don't know. Like I'm expecting something to happen and it doesn't. And then you get to like 2 hours in, you're like, is this going to end soon? It doesn't feel like it's going to end, even though it's felt like it forever, Yeah.
And then here's another thing too. Yeah. They are not like Zack Snyder. And this is what I mean by why I enjoyed the film so much, or enjoyed it as much as I should say I enjoyed it. It's not reinventing the wheel in any way, shape, or form. Yes, there's some new zombie mythology, which is interesting, but what it's doing is Zack Snyder is doing a time-honored tradition, and there's nothing wrong with it. This is not a sin. He is taking there's nothing better than taking a well-proven concept and just doing your own thing with it. A great example is, I don't know, I can't think of one off the top of my head, but basically this film is Aliens meets Miracle Mile meets Dawn of the Dead meets, you know what I mean? Like it's just hitting all these meets like, Ocean's 11 bank heist meets, you know what I'm saying? Like meets the Expendables.
You can even argue like the opening almost has a sports movie feel, like getting the team back together type of thing. You know what I mean?
Yes. And it's
a pastiche of a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Great. And I'll tell you something too. I want to touch on this detail because we're going to forget about it. I'm going to be upset. We're going to talk about that. Ballad of the Broken is asking, why were the zombies whose eyes glow blue? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. Thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you. Yeah.
I loved the little detail, and this was a little detail, and it just, again, this is an example of evocative of not bad screenplay, a screenplay that needed to be refined and rewritten or written by somebody else. Zack Snyder sets up this amazing, amazing concept that I love, that I have not seen in heist movies, where they're like, okay, the three of us, we're going to get 15 million. Then they go to Tig and they say, you're going to get 2 million. And then they go to the safe cracker and they say, you're going to get 250K. And then they go to the next guy. How would you like to make 20,000?
But Jeff, it's a weird execution thing too, because like that was funny to me, but also it's like, I don't know, the movie doesn't seem like it knows that it's funny. Like the way it's executed.
Yeah, you're right. You're so right.
Like, I was like, it was happening, and I was like, does Zack Snyder know the convention of them offering everyone less and less is really funny? But it doesn't seem like it does. It knows that it's funny. It's really.
I was expecting it to pay off. I was expecting that to be a source of contention where somebody finds out, and then you create. Because again, what's the best thing about
it? It's a setup with no payoff.
It's a setup with no payoff, literally, no pun intended, because it's about paying off.
Right.
But the best zombie films, and I would even put this strike against Dawn of the Dead, because that's the thing. The Dawn of the Dead, James Gunn's script, is not about people versus people, and that's the element. The zombies are always supposed to be a catalyst element, a catalyst in the background for a story where it's this against this, and obviously Return of the Living Dead breaks that trope.
Men are always the worst.
Right, men are always the worst.
True monster.
That's the irony.
Right.
But that's
to the credit of
that.
this movie, this movie's challenging that thing with smart zombies. Like it's challenging it with that sort of. I mean, in an I Am Legend type of way, I guess. But
listen, they do that, as I just said. They did that in Return of the Living Dead, and Return of the Living Dead is a masterpiece. It's literally zombies versus humans. There isn't that element, but you're setting us up for. You got your Paul Reiser from Aliens character who has to bring back the fucking head for the company. You know that, and Ballard brings up this. He brings up and the infinite loop theory with the skeletons by the vault machine in the character's clothes, which I also found to be a really cool detail that is just never explained.
It's not explained. Well, I think it was just a throwaway, like, oh, he sent another team in and they failed, so they're sending us in. It was just
matched the clothing. They matched the clothing.
They were expendable, basically. I don't think it had anything supernatural about it. I think what was I forget his name, the character. I forget all the characters' names, but which is also bad. But the guy who hired them, he just didn't. He was doing it.
Tanaka.
Right.
Tanaka.
It's very odd that he couldn't just get a zombie head some other way. It's very odd. Like you need to explain this stuff. Why is it so hard? Why can the YouTube guy go and shoot zombies and sneak into Los Angeles and make videos? Or it's not Los Angeles, sorry, in Las Vegas.
Coyote. Just hire the coyote.
Well, yeah, I'm saying the YouTube guy is doing it for fun, and this guy's doing all this elaborate ruse for one head. I don't understand. Like, maybe there's an answer, but you got to give me something.
It was just there were so. Here's the problem. He literally spent. It's like he literally spent 2 hours setting up all these things, and then closed every single thing that he spent 2 hours setting up. Closed them up in very anticlimactic ways. A great example, Dieter. Like we don't even see him die.
Maybe my favorite character in the movie, by the way. Like Dieter's amazing. He's great. Well, he's so great. He's
supposed to get a prequel. He's going to have his own prequel.
Well, that character, number one, that character and the actor are just amazing. He was the most fun in the movie.
And I love the name of the vault, Gutter Damarai.
It's great.
It's just so cool. And Ballad of the Broken also brings up there's a light UFO in the sky at the beginning. I saw that, and you also see that they have like this blue electricity. The baby zombie has a blue electricity inside of it. Quite clearly, perhaps the dead in this are actually like it's like Night of the Creeps or whatever. It's like alien.
I assume that because the beginning the guys were obviously saying they came from Area 51,
right?
So he is. So the OG zombie is obviously a man who was infected by whatever from space.
Right. So these are alien parasites that are spreading, which again, I'm down with. I'm down with all of that stuff. That was fine. And, and then pretty much like the whole film, it sets up all these characters and then very anticlimactically just sort of just does it with the only person who gets, and then, the whole thing of like, I got to save my daughter who needs to save this woman from this refugee camp. She dies. It's like, what the fuck?
Once again, the inefficiency of storytelling. Number one, the whole thing where his daughter worked at a volunteer camp outside of Las Vegas. I still, in my second viewing, don't completely understand what the hell that is. I don't understand. Why is there a guard there testing people's like temperature? What are they volunteering for? I don't even understand any of it. And it's all this exposition that you would need to give on top of what we already got the mounds of it. And I'm just like, couldn't his daughter just have had another reason that she wanted to accompany him on this? Does it need to be this complicated that she's at some sort of volunteer service and she's like best friends with a mother whose children are there too? And there's like this rapist abuser guy. It's just like, and then there's the woman that they get on the team who's also at the camp. that wasn't with the original team. I was like, why is there so much going on here?
There was a lot. There was just
Richie,
a
okay,
lot
you
going
can't
on.
do this, right? Okay, it's not.
There was a lot going on, man, and it was just like, again, you know, like one of the standout moments is, you know, there's this it's very similar to Vasquez in Aliens. There's like this. She's I don't know. She's like a Latina, like, you know, warrior chick, and she just kicks all sorts of ass. One of my favorite parts of the movie was her just fighting to get out of there.
Right.
And it's like, and then you have the bodyguard who's supposed to make everything go, you know, along with the heist. I knew that the vault, inside the vault, here's the other thing too. I was expecting them to open the vault, and there was obviously going to be some sort of reversal. It's going to be something that they're not expecting inside of the vault. By the way, supposedly the Snyder cut for Justice League, because this was shot in 2019, the Snyder cut was in the vault. This is before he started working on the Snyder cut. It was actually in the vault, which I thought was really cool. He had it placed in there.
I did notice that. That's amazing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
But I was expecting something more than money. I was expecting.
No, it's just like it just turned out to be. Oh wait, so there is money in there, but the plan was to get a zombie head, and really, the whole time I was like, well, why didn't the guy that was working for him just go along with the plan? They were letting him take the zombie head anyway.
Yeah,
you could have enacted the original plan and still got what you wanted.
It was baffling, dude. I was just baffled.
It's such a messy script. I
was baffled, and that's the thing, and that it's really hard to ignore the messy script. However, to go back to what I was saying, before I even asked you to do this with me, I went back and rewatched the opening sequence again. So there's something to be said for Zack Snyder's talent, because here I am. I don't want to rewatch the whole movie, but that opening sequence was so good. Like the opening with the credits, the just the thing. There's so much movie in that opening that I'm like this. And I'll be honest with you, that is the best, like, seeing the end of the world that I've ever seen in that little credit sequence, besides the Dawn of the Dead one. It's done super well. It's better than any Romero film in terms of seeing the world end.
Honestly, you know? It made me think of the opening of Zombieland a little bit. But the opening of Zombieland, they do
that too, yeah.
The opening of I love Zombieland, I do. But Zombieland, yeah. But the opening of Zombieland doesn't have really story in it. It's just shots of zombies attacking people.
Right.
It's not actually telling a story. Whereas there's
actual story. Like the colonel.
It's
the colonel's climbing up on the tank. Yeah. The colonel's climbing up on the tank. He's waving blue smoke to sign that to bomb the place because it's lost. You know, there's just all it's
showing us basically all of Dave Bautista's like platoon mates, what happened to them. Right. It's basically everyone really around him died or fought, and this is who lived and died, and this is what he's experienced. Oh, by the way, here's also what happened at his house. It was just like you don't need that.
It was just it was unnecessary. And then you're like supposed to be like, wait, and then they have this whole conversation. This is what I mean by exposition. Here we have, again, Zack Snyder masterfully showing us why he is such a great filmmaker. And then on the flip side, having this conversation where they're pumping the generator. And she's like, actually, Dad, that's not why I was mad at you. I was mad at you because you didn't call me afterwards. That's why. Now, here's the thing. I'm asking myself, like, what's the scene and like the exposition and the blah, 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 blah. And here's what I realized. And honestly, I feel kind of bad even like mocking it, because I think, and here's my hot take, this relationship is at the core of its being. This is him writing about what happened with his daughter. And for those of you who are unaware,
I knew you were going to say this, but yeah.
But
I know. I mean, I thought it too.
Listen, for those of you who don't know, Zack Snyder's, while in the middle of making Justice League, Zack Snyder's teenage daughter, I don't want to use the S word because we're on a stream. She took her own life. That's the best way. Yeah. I'm sorry. I was trying to think of the most appropriate way. I was going to use a much less appropriate way. That is the most appropriate way to talk about that topic. Zack Snyder's daughter tragically took her life, and he was pulled off of Justice League, or there was some Justice. I'm hearing a bunch of different stories. Don't want to talk about that. My point
that's a
is
whole different bag of chips.
Whole different topic. But
yeah,
he left the Justice League project, and he was, I mean, what a, again, we don't, it's self-explanatory, and my heart goes out to him and his family, as I'm sure Bob agrees with me.
Yeah,
but
of course.
What's interesting, and as again, filmmaking is therapy, and I can't help but think that this relationship is between Dave Bautista and this actress, who's, by the way, she's a great actress. She's absolutely stunning, a beautiful girl. And just a real, like, I want her to see her star in more stuff. I think she had a lot of charisma. She was really great.
Did. No, she had presence.
Yeah, she had a lot of presence and just really did a great job. And really can do action stuff. Her and Dave Bautista have this whole, like, relationship that so doesn't matter to the story, but is clearly there because it's Zack Snyder working through some sort of trauma that ends, spoilers again, with the daughter shooting the father in the head. It's the daughter who has to kill the father, and then that's also tied to, and then you're asking why do we see the scene of the mom, him having to kill the mom and the daughter? Quite clearly, I think this is some deeply Freudian trauma that Zack Snyder, personal family trauma that he is trying to subversively embed in this film. And it ends with, of course, it's like, I would rather myself die than my child die. And therefore, that's the message that he's sending at the end of this movie. At least that's how I picked up on it.
Now, of course, I'm not to mock what had happened at all, but
of course not.
If that's the truth, if that was the intention, it doesn't read well. It doesn't, because
it most certainly does not.
I hope that we can't know if that was the intention, but if it was, that entire story arc does slog the movie down completely. Like, it needs, giving Bautista, I think him working through his pain and coming out the other side, maybe wanting to be alive or live his life again without being just a burger flipper, would have been enough. You don't.
We didn't even need the daughter. He didn't have to have a daughter.
No, he didn't even have to have a daughter.
Everything we needed.
It's insane to me that you didn't, when you're writing the script, you don't have the two people that died that he watched die when the fence came down. That could be his wife and daughter, and then you have a surrogate daughter on the team who he cares about.
Yes.
It's just like, it all writes itself. It's pretty obvious. That way you keep things moving. The team matters more. She's also a warrior, because in this case, the daughter's not one of the mercenaries. She's just
make the coyote his surrogate daughter or something. I love the idea of the coyote, and I love that there's this person that's going into Las Vegas because there's untold riches, and again, I'm okay with the idea of there being a refugee camp. I thought that was actually pretty interesting. It was
I just needed more information about what it was.
I mean, it
didn't make sense.
They were like quarantined people that had nowhere to go because they were in Las Vegas. Who knows? Some reason that they had to be.
Also, did you find it weird that people were suspecting people could turn into a zombie at any minute? It was like, wait, has anyone been bitten?
No, it was a meditation on COVID. It was COVID, dude.
It was, but it didn't make any sense, because I was like, wait, the only way to become a zombie by the rules that you've set down is to be bit.
Right.
These people are not bit. Why are we constantly taking their temperature when they're not in any danger of being bit? And why are they, you know what I mean? It didn't make I'm not saying these are plot holes that ruin the movie for me, but why is it all here? Why am I watching it? Give me a reason why I'm sitting through this long scene of this volunteer camp. I don't understand why this is all important. What are they doing?
Now, I will say that some of the coolest elements are some of these, and again, some of them are borrowed also from George Romero. One in particular that I felt that George Big Daddy from Land of the Dead, who's the main intelligent zombie in Land of the Dead, is definitely sort of here in this. And it's interesting because Zack Snyder first started writing this right around 2005 when, as a follow-up to Dawn of the Dead, just as Land of the Dead was having this Dawn of the Dead. Land of the Dead came out in 2005. And or 2004, one of them, one of the two.
I met the guy who played Big Daddy. He was a nice guy. Anyway,
you know, it's funny you say that. I sat next to him and ate dinner with him at an awards. Yes, at an awards ceremony for a film festival where I won best screenplay. And
all right,
dude. This is crazy. This is not like a humble brag or anything. This is just sharing a really fun experience because you brought that up. On the left of me was Pazuzu from The Exorcist. Elaine Dietz, who plays Pazuzu, and Reagan. She was sitting, and then on the other side, I'm literally in between her and Big Daddy from Land of the Dead. And I was kind of geeking out. Yeah, and I won an award. I was nominated 4 times, and I won an award for the best feature film screenplay for Romeo's Distress. It was a pretty cool evening. And Big Daddy tapped me on the shoulder. He's like, "Congratulations, man! Go up there, get your thing." I was like, "Yeah, thanks." And I have his business card.
Thanks, Big Daddy. Did you actually say it?
I should have. No. I should have said that. No. Yeah. But my point is that he, this Zeus zombie he wears this metal helmet, and I'm like, why does he have the metal helmet on? And then they go, to deflect bullets. That's pretty cool.
That's cool. It's a cool idea.
I love the whole thing. There's a whole Raiders of a Lost Ark sequence where the safe is comedically booby trapped, like it's an ancient ruined temple, and they use zombies to
diffuse everything. Really good,
really
sequence.
fun, great sequence.
It's like that. I would put if you took out the scenes and you placed them all into 2 camps. There's the fun scenes, and then there's the Zack Snyder heavy scenes, and they don't mix. It's oil and water, and like that, the Raiders of the Lost Ark thing. That to me is like, okay, this is the movie that started with a blowjob.
Yes,
that's the movie that started with a blowjob. It makes
and the Las Vegas music video, all of that
exactly.
And so it's just like, and then I love one thing that I had never really seen in any zombie films, maybe The Walking Dead a little bit, is the idea that these zombies dry out in the sun.
And they come back to life. That was a good idea.
They come back to life with water, and they set this up.
And it's like, it doesn't come to fruition, right?
Give us a busted water main that spills out and floods the area and causes them to come back to life.
It should have been, okay, I mean, look, who am I? I'm just a fucking nobody.
Same.
But if I was writing this movie, I would have had that line, and then when they're racing to the end at the helicopter, they see all the mounds of the zombies, and then they hear lightning, and they all look up. And even Zack Snyder could have done like a cool fucking like shot of like lightning, it's like striking down around them, and then rain starting to hit, and then they all realize what's about to happen. Why isn't that moment in this movie? You set it up perfectly.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the zombies start to come back to life. It's like Thriller. You get your music video. Come on,
it's literally you could literally have, again, in a film where they tongue-in-cheekly put Zombie by the Cranberries,
right?
You literally could have Thriller. Imagine did we just write the best sequence ever?
No, I'm saying, Jeff, imagine if Zombie by the Cranberries started playing during the rain sequence. Then that would make the silliness of the rain sequence and the almost too on the point reference to the song all kind of gel into one big fun moment.
I'm taking it one step
further.
Go ahead,
take it further. Go ahead.
I'm taking it further. How about this? By the way, really quickly, Ballad of the Broken. Yes, you could be right.
That was
might be.
Zack Snyder's an Idle Hands fan.
Might be. It's very possible. And what's up, Javis Bickle? Good to see you, buddy.
Hello.
But okay, all right, ready? We're gonna pitch this. We just wrote a really good scene for Army of the Dead where they go out, they see that there are all these dried zombies. And they literally, and all you need to do, because this is the type of universe that we're in, where they just go, thank God it doesn't rain, or thank God it hasn't rained in a long time. And all of a sudden,
even call back Young Frankenstein. Could be worse. It could be rain.
Yeah, it could be worse. And then all of a sudden, thunderclouds.
Right.
Rain starts coming down. And just as that happens, mother friggin' Thriller starts bumping. Needle drop Thriller. No, straight up. I'm not playing around. And then all of a sudden, you have so many people in the party, obviously fodder for deaths. Like, for instance, I did like the idea that the coyote shoots the guy in the leg as kind of like a sacrifice. I thought that was really great.
That was a great scene.
But how about she shoots him in the leg to slow him down for the thriller zombies so they can get out of the first, sequence of danger. Like, boom.
You know what? Okay, so this is reminding me of a lot of stuff. Your idea here, Jeff, because I don't know if you've ever heard. Hello, Chris. I don't know if you've ever heard like Edgar Wright talk about Shaun of the Dead and how like he knew it was time to make a zombie movie, but because he knew that when Return of the Living Dead Part 2 came out, and when they had the thriller zombie get electrocuted, he said to himself, "Zombies need to go away for a while." I remember it's probably on the DVD actually. It's either on the commentary or whatever, but he actually said that was the reason he knew zombies needed to go away and come back like a decade later.
Do you know whose fault that is? That's Brian Peck's fault. Brian Peck.
I like Return of the Living Dead 2, so I can't.
I like Return of the Living Dead 2 as well.
As well, right?
Brian Peck, who plays Scuzz in Return of the Living Dead 1, and he plays a ballistic technician in Return of the Living Dead Part 3. Played a bunch of zombies throughout all of Return of the Living Dead Part 2, and he begged and pleaded to wear that jacket and do the thriller thing. And much to the chagrin of a lot of people.
Right. But I think tonally it works with the movie. Like the movie is a meta movie. Return of the Living Dead 2 is
comedy. It's a comedy.
Yeah, it's very meta. And I'm saying, I think what we're doing by rewriting it with something like the thriller dance, so we're wishing Army of the Dead had that tonal push to one side, right? I mean, it's also like it would also go with the extravagance and silliness. Wouldn't it go with the extravagance and silliness and garishness of Vegas too? Like,
yes,
that's kind of the thing that's missing from this movie is the Vegas. If you ask me, the opening had it, and then the rest of the movie is completely devoid of it.
Yeah. I mean,
Vegas
even where it
just
says
there.
"Watch out, Elvis," and then the Eiffel Tower falls on Elvis, right? It says "Watch out now" or something like that.
But most of the scenes they take place in basements and dilapidated hallways.
Yeah, well, that's like budget shit. They have these.
Yeah, but I mean, come on though. Netflix would pay for this. Do a big scene.
It was like $90 million.
Right. Do a big scene in the Wayne Newton Theater. Do something in a casino itself. Give me a giant action sequence like that. It just all was very bleak.
Give us more Elvis zombies. Like there should have been a ratio.
Zombies, right?
There should have been a ratio of like 3 Elvis zombies for every regular zombie in the movie.
I think we're just rewriting the movie now.
But I mean, that's what we do. That's what I would do. And again, I was like, I love the idea of the helicopter and the nuke, and the helicopter doesn't work. But it's like there's literally the helicopter working again is not earned in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
it's like, and the other thing too is you have this great character played by Tig. I don't know the last name.
Tig Notaro, who. The story of that is amazing too. Adding her in post and everything.
Digitally added her in.
Props to Netflix and Zack Snyder for doing that.
Yes. And Ballard says, that's true. The Tiger's so much fun.
Tiger's a great idea. Yeah, Tiger is a great idea.
Fun.
There's good ideas here.
Yes.
And
not always executed.
Not always executed. I mean, I'll accept the Tiger's arc was basically finally seeing him bite off somebody's head. Fine. That's all. I got that, but
I mean, it felt so anticlimactic. Like there was it was just like he turns around. Uh-oh, there's a tiger. It's going to eat him. And the thing is, I realized that a zombie tiger is not as fun in execution as it is in concept because, like, it could have just been a regular tiger because that's what a regular tiger would do to you.
Let me ask you this: like, do you feel that they paid off the diamond cutter? That I forget everybody's name. The guy who lives at the end who has the diamond cutter in the opening credits. He's like chopping zombies with it.
What about him?
Well, not even him. I was expecting like someone to have something big happen with that, and it kind of once again just anticlimactic. Doesn't pay off.
Just that he survives, and then it's just like, he's bitten, and he's on his way to Mexico City.
When you watch movies because you've seen so many genre movies in your head, wheels are always working. Like, okay, I can see the Chekhov's gun here and here and here.
Right.
Expecting like that dude to take on the tiger later in the movie with the he decides he's going to sacrifice himself for the team, and he takes the tiger out with the diamond cutter, like splitting it while it's leaping at him or something crazy. Like Sharknado style or something crazy like that.
Sure. Sure.
None
Yeah,
of that
it doesn't
happens.
happen.
None of that happens.
But
It all goes away. It feels
but
quiet and
but
sad.
a part of me was really had my eyes rolling really hard because I'm going, oh come on, he survives because he was in the safe. You know, it's a lead fridge syndrome with Indiana Jones. He survives a nuclear blast because he's in a safe.
Yeah, the radiation stuff is a
Well,
questionable.
here's the thing though, the
Yeah.
radiation stuff, and I'm going, well, wouldn't he? I mean, he's carrying this money through this radiation field. Wouldn't he be? And then I'm like, wait, he was bitten. He was bitten, and therefore,
Right. It explains
technically,
it. Yeah.
that I kind of was like, okay, fine.
The virus was keeping him alive because his body no longer needed to be alive. Although,
Fine.
yeah, that's like in screenwriting, you call that double mumbo jumbo. I don't really need to know how radiation towards zombie flesh actually works. I can give it that. But when you have like a 15-minute chunk of the movie where I'm like, why is this guy not deteriorating? What's happening? I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not cheering. I'm actually like scratching my head. It's execution. Apparently it was a low-level nuke. But I would say to Ballad, the average viewer like us doesn't actually know the radiation levels that a low-level nuke.
No, they say it. They say it. They do say it though. They say it's like a No, the Ballad is
but
right.
They don't say what its effect. They say it's a low-level nuke, but I'm saying the effect on a human body at ground zero is not. I don't know what happens.
That's true.
Can a person actually walk a mile? Maybe they can. I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't know how that works. What was that show?
By the way, Ballad. You saw? I didn't know that Army of the Dead was playing in theaters. That's crazy.
That's crazy that you saw it in the theater.
That's awesome. Good for you.
I wish I could have seen this in a theater. I think it would actually play better.
Me too. I agree. I wish I could have seen it in the theater, and I'm sorry that I did not. But yeah, I don't know. I just, and then like so I was like, oh cool, they're bringing this character back because he survived in the safe. Fine. I'm almost happier because I'm like, wait a minute. The helicopter crash kills Tig, kills the girl that they're rescuing. Dave Bautista gets shot in the head, and it's just the girl like sullen that she's killed her father, and that's the end of the movie. And it's just like, that sucks.
Once again, that's not the movie that's fun. That's not a fun thing. That guy living, if he didn't get bit and having all the money, that's kind of the ending I was hoping for. And then once again,
it would have been cool.
You know, I mean,
it would have been even cooler. But what if it was the safecracker who survived and not him? The safecracker survives, and he was the guy who was getting paid the lowest amount of money, and he walks out of there with $200 million because he was able to crack open the safe. And that was another thing. They build up the safe as this impenetrable thing, and there is no stakes during the cracking of the safe. It's just a montage.
It's a montage. It's another montage.
It's the easiest safe, and it's just like, dude. Like you built, that's what I mean. He's building up all of these things, and then when they pay them off or nullify them they get the resolution. They come to the resolution. It's so anticlimactic that it's like it's disheartening. Now, I did really enjoy. Again, I did love the tropes. I love Miracle Mile is a friggin' phenomenal film, and I felt the Miracle Mile-ness of it, which is like literally. You're racing towards the clock because everything is going to be destroyed.
Right.
And I felt that energy in this film.
I'd argue that you're right. Okay, you're writing the movie. You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
When you make it like when they're in the helicopter and they've got 9 minutes left, I was like, for the audience, I was like, this is ridiculous. They're going to land the helicopter, go and save her from sentient zombies and get back in and escape. I was like, you couldn't just make that 20 minutes. I don't like at least I would believe it was feasible. You know what I mean?
Can we talk about, hold on. Let's talk about the motivations of the smart zombies.
Sure.
At the beginning, the coyote says, you think this is a quarantine or you think this is that they're barricaded, but this is really their kingdom. Like, meaning they choose to live here. They formed a society. Right. Down with all of that. Cool. Very cool stuff. Love that.
The title has a dual meaning. Dave Bautista's crew is the Army of the Dead. They have their own army of the dead. Right. They are the
Right.
kingdom. They have their own army. Right.
What is the goal? What is the goal of making more? I guess it's kind of like, oh, we just want to increase our numbers. I'm having a baby. I'm super stoked. Like, there's no, and then as Ballad was talking about, you see sometimes when they get shot in the head, the blue electricity, is it an omnipotence here where he's controlling the minds, and when you disrupt the mind, it destroys the antenna, and is it like that? Like, what is
also why isn't he making most of the smart? Why isn't he? Because they set it up where if he bites you, you become a smart zombie, but if anyone below him bites, you just a regular old minion, right? How come?
Which is
that's
cool.
Fine, no, not complaining about that. That's a cool idea. It's like a vampire side, like the master vampire siren versus totally fine.
Works. Totally down with that.
But how come? There's no explanation for how come he is limiting his power. He's only biting very sparsely to make certain people smart zombies.
And then there's a swimming pool where like there's like people remains, like we don't understand, like it just and the hibernation, which is kind of like the girl with all the gifts. I'm like, this is cool, which by the way was a great example of doing something different with zombies and tying it into funguses, which is in nature, where you have these zombie funguses that infect ants and cause them to do strange things. It's like cool. Really love that idea. And it's like you could tell that some of those elements are being borrowed here, but for what? Oh, we'll just have a bunch of hibernating zombies. And
small touch too, I noticed on my second view is that in the opening montage, the main king zombie, he has a name, I forget what it is, but
Zeus.
Yeah. He has short hair. His hair grows.
Yeah. He can also.
That's new, right? Is he dead? Is he even dead? You know what I mean?
He might not be dead. Everybody else around him is dead. His queen might be dead, but I mean, that's the weird thing is that he kind of still grows. And that was terrifying at the beginning too. Yeah, I just love the idea of this jarhead who is now being transported. I mean, that was cool as well. I mean, like, and another thing too, most of the zombies, they felt like World War Z zombies. They weren't missing body parts really. They were like hyper ninja zombies, super aggressive. And I don't know, it just didn't. That's kind of why I loved Return of the Living Dead so much, is that they're first of all, it's dark, it's rainy, and the zombies they're just people covered in mud. Like, you don't really see that many zombie appliances. They're just gross and rotten and waterlogged and whatnot. And
the zombies are truly gross in Return of the Living Dead at every level, even from the top man down to the zombie on the table,
the yellow cadaver. Everybody's
disgusting. Yeah, they all look like they stink.
They really do.
Really bad.
Here, when they walk through the dried pile of dead, like you would imagine the stench. And they don't, like, nobody ever, and that's not Zach's fault. Like, it happens in all zombie. You
don't need them to mention it, but
you don't need to. But like, it's just kind of like you think they would wear a gas mask. It would definitely add a dimension as a viewer if they wore gas masks because of the odor, and maybe remove their gas mask and it causes them to instantaneously throw up or something. I don't know. It just some sort of, and then another interesting element that's in the background that Zack Snyder, I thought, did really well. It's an ode. This is an ode to George Romero. This is what George Romero would be doing today, is like, Human Rights Watch on the living dead, and like that they're people, and that, you would imagine like religious groups would be going in there, like citing, like maybe it's like the resurrection is happening. Like, there's just so much. I just thought of so many different things when I heard that stuff.
I'm not disagreeing, but do you think that those themes are really there? Like, I was trying to really think about this before.
No, they're not there.
Like,
they're not there. It's just it's a detail.
Like, how like obviously
detail.
Dawn of the Dead is maybe one of the best film criticisms of consumerism ever, right?
Right.
The original Dawn of the Dead,
right?
And the remake, it may be less so, but it's still there.
It's very
slight. It's very
slight. And it's we talked about this before. One of the criticisms of the Dawn of the Dead remake is that even though there are characters and there are sort of character arcs, the film is definitely driven more by plot than it is by character.
Yes.
In Dawn of the Dead.
Agree.
You know?
And I would almost argue Army had more character than Dawn of the Dead. In some ways, it's not executed as well, but it's fighting for it. Yeah, Sean Spicer's second movie credit ever.
That was pretty crazy. I was like, is that really Sean Spicer?
What I was gonna say though, going back, is no, it's okay. Theme wise,
yes,
it doesn't take the piss out of the vapidity of Vegas itself at all. Like, you know, and the way Dawn of the Dead takes the piss out of consumerism, out of malls, out of these monuments to consumerism that they were and are still to, you know, everything. Vegas is ripe to be made fun of. And
it does a little bit. It does in one way.
Dude, it's just not enough though. Considering the premise and everything, it's just not enough. Well, go ahead. What's the one way you think?
One way, and again, I think you're going to shoot this down. You're definitely going to shoot this down. But
I'm not going to aim to.
All right, but I'm going to be. I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Okay. It does in the sense of all of these people are gambling their life for a huge payday, and they're risking it all. They're risking everything that they have for a payday, and for some it's millions of dollars, and for some it's like 20 grand. And that in that way, it is sort of taking the piss out of Vegas.
Okay. I'm not shooting it down. I'm not shooting it down.
Go ahead.
Once again, I don't want to keep rewriting the movie, but if that were the thought that went into this, and that might be, if that were the thought, I would have had either a joke or a setup and payoff or something that would express that specifically. Like, even if it just came down to when they're getting the team back together, Dave Bautista says, take a gamble on me. Even something that small. And at the end, you have somebody call that back. Like, I guess I made a bad gamble.
Or Tanaka. Where they're in the thing. They're all meeting up, and he's taking them through what they're going to have to do. And someone's like, "What? That's the plan? That's crazy!" And Tanaka just turns to the camera and goes, "It's a gamble."
No, he doesn't have to turn to the camera, but he could say like, "What? You don't like the gamble?" What if Tanaka looked at them all in that garage and said, "What? It's Vegas. You don't want to gamble a little bit?"
Right. I mean, just so.
It's like, so this isn't high art. Have some fun. It's a genre movie.
A fun little thing.
It's a genre movie. Have some fun. And that would be the theme almost. They're gambling their lives. Yes, I agree with you. But I don't know if Zack Snyder or the movie knows that's what the theme is. Once again.
Now, the one thing I'm going to, again, mostly, automatically when you critique and discuss movies, I would say aesthetics rarely come up, if ever. It's like, we don't need to talk about how good the movie is shot unless there's some particular stylistic approach or aesthetic. Oh, we are about to talk about it.
Yes, we do.
Usually like a film, unless it takes a very unique, specific stylistic approach or is using a specific color palette. I'll give you a great example. Look at the way Mad Max, again, to bring up Mad Max Fury Road, and
it's hard not to. It's a great movie
because it's just such a phenomenal film, and we can talk about that endlessly. And the color palettes, and just like just the way
Did you ever see the black and chrome cut?
Oh my God. Not only have I seen the black and chrome, I had the fan edit before it came out where someone took out the dialogue stem, left in the music and the effects.
And you just watched that.
You know what's amazing? I watched it completely all the way through, and I'm going to tell you something. You can get exactly from the score, exactly what is going on at every single moment, except for when they decide to turn around and go back. That's the only time.
It's a visual masterpiece. The themes are all there on the screen. It's hard. It's hard not to get. Right.
But my point is that usually aesthetics are a given, unless you're talking about like maybe indie micro stuff, and then you're going to say, hey, you know what? It's an indie microfilm. They don't have a lot of money. Look at the content. Judge it by its content over by the way it's shot, unless the sound is atrocious and it's unlistenable and yada, yada, yada. There are certain standards with that. So all that aside, there are some times where filmmakers make choices that just don't make sense for the story that they're telling. And in this one, do you want to take it, Bob? Do you know what I'm going to say?
Well, I mean, if I was just gonna first, I don't know exactly what you're gonna say, but I was gonna say Zack Snyder, he is a good DP. He is. I'm not saying he's not, but
Yes,
whatever.
100%.
I am not. I have no room to criticize cinematography.
Same.
But I maybe would have made the depth of field a little less shallow, dude. Like, Jesus.
There's a reason. There's
times where it's so shallow, it's actually affecting the storytelling.
Very
yes,
much
blurry
so.
As hell. Blurry as hell. Agree.
But
it's actually like
is right.
There is some shots where I'm like, this should have a less shallow, deeper depth, so I could see what the hell the characters like looking at or feeling from behind, and it's like it's so blurry. It's like the front of their face is only in focus.
Two things. One, I'm going to address what you have to say. Two, I just want to say, Hugh, Diamond Dead was a George Romero project going back to the year 2000, where it basically what it is it's a girl who's touring around with a band that's dead, and she has to kill 365 people, one per day, while she's touring. And it was a very interesting, unique, original script. It has nothing to do with Romero's Dead universe. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, it's not canon or anything, right?
It's not canon, but it was I hope it gets made someday. That's number one. Number two, to explain why you just said that, Snyder, for whatever reason, decided, and we're going to have to land this airplane, you guys, because I have a hard out. That was supposed to be 3 minutes ago, but I'm making room just because we need to talk about this real quick.
Okay.
The blurry, the shallow depth of field, the rack focusing. First of all, that's Snyder behind the camera using that. He shot in all natural light, or as much natural light as possible. Very cool. Always love that sort of stuff. However, he spent some years on eBay tracking down these antique glass lenses to fix to very specific red cameras. And that is why the film looks as Bob describes it. And for whatever reason, Zack Snyder decided that this was the artistic choice that he wanted to make for the visual look of the film. And I personally felt, just again, from a storytelling perspective, from a aesthetic perspective, it really was, it was jarring and distracting and frustrating, where I was like, I was spending energy trying to focus on what I was seeing more than taking in the dialogue even.
Do you remember the shot when like Tanaka puts the toy helicopter on top of the building, and it's the focus is everywhere, and it's like
it's crazy.
It's not even in focus when you get to the toy helicopter. But I wanted to say the one weird thing about what we're talking about right now is in the movie there is a billboard for a magician named Larry Fong.
Who is the cinematographer?
Who's got all of his other movies. And when I saw it, I was so like, funny. Where is it? Why didn't this guy do this? It would look so much better, dude. It would just look so much better. Anyway, because he's really talented. I mean, he is mega talented. Yes, it was frustrating. Absolutely.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, like, look, that was his choice. And again, I would say, look, love it or hate it, slam it or love it or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Friggin', this isn't a tour film, and this is Snyder in complete artistic control. He's doing some things like masterfully, like what we talked about with that opening sequence and these certain bright-hearted moments. And there is a lot that's left to be desired. And what's interesting is it's like you almost would think that he wrote this was a first draft that he dusted off the shelf and was like, all right, Netflix is going to give me money to make this film. Great, let's do it. And it just really could have he could have called up James Gunn if he wasn't so busy with Suicide Squad or whatever or Guardians or whatever, and be like, hey, James, would you do some uncredited rewrites on this? Just
right.
Like snap up the script. So it's like, in fact, that would be a major marketing selling point. I
think this movie was also the reason Bautista wasn't in Suicide Squad.
Yes, that's true. And Hugh brings up a great point. Even George Lucas hired a better editor. What he did was George Lucas got his wife came in and recut Star Wars, and Star Wars is the way that it is because of George Lucas's wife. Like,
Right.
I don't know her name. I don't want to call her George Lucas's wife. She has a fucking name. I don't know that name, so
I don't know her name either. But yeah, don't call her George Lucas's wife.
Yeah, credit to the, let's just say, credit to the female editor on Star Wars, who made Star Wars what it is. Like, the success of Star Wars in part belongs to her, and she doesn't get enough credit. And
there's
Snyder
no reason that Army of the Dead should be over 2 hours. An editor should come in and have fixed it.
Could have been exactly 2 hours.
2 hours is like maximum for a genre movie like this.
Yeah.
It was better than Dead Don't Die.
Could not agree more.
See Dead Don't Die. So
you'll be very mad. You will be very mad by Dead Don't Die, because it is not my, again, I love Jim Jarmusch, and I love his early work, which is not really, I mean, nothing really happens in the films. Yeah. It's just, they're more, you know what they are? They're more like they're artistic paintings on film. You know what they are? Yeah. They're like arty black and white photographs that move. And I really love them for that quality. Yeah. But The Dead Don't Die is like this pointless, I don't know. It just does not, you know, when you have Iggy Pop as a zombie who's talking about black coffee, which is a tie back to cigarettes and coffee.
Right.
And you just think you think that they're going to do more with it. And they just didn't. And you have, what's her face as a Scottish, Tilda, oh God, what's her last name? Tilda is playing this Scottish, like swordstress who's also an alien. Oh no, sorry, don't want to spoil it, but there's nothing to spoil.
I mean,
because literally nothing happens in this film.
I probably won't watch it anytime soon. I wasn't planning to. So, but
listen, Bob, I want to thank you again. I love having you on.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
You're so good at this stuff. I will always find an excuse or reason to have Bob on to talk stuff. I think we got to do something with Batman Forever. I think that it's unavoidable that
if you want to, man, I will.
I want to. Okay. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it off air, but what I really want to assess is not just Batman Forever. Mm-hmm. I want to take a look, and I don't know if I can. I have it intact. Someone gave it to me many, many years ago. But the red edition of Batman Forever, it's a fan edit that reincorporates like the original vision of Joel Schumacher. It's the Schumacher cut. It's like the Schumacher cut. It's probably the closest thing we're ever going to get to the Schumacher cut. In any case, I would very much like to compare and contrast and discuss. I have to get it out of my system. I'm never going to stop.
I'm down because I feel like we've only basically talked about Zack Snyder, and as much as that is great, we got to get Aaron on it too.
We got to get Aaron on it too, because Aaron was talking about how he loves. Bob, you're being requested to do a review of Veronica.
Alan, I have seen Veronica, and let me say this: there were moments that made me laugh very hard and entertained me, but the whole thing did not entertain me.
I mean, Veronica is literally this. This is literally Veronica. This is Glenn's like, okay, interior, girl. Girl has giant eyeballs in her boobies. Yeah, that's cool.
Veronica looks like a 90s porno shoot.
Yes.
Made real into a horror film. It's kind of amazing, but also like, wow. Yeah.
Enter giant albino Spider-Man.
How about his new movie, his Western that's coming up?
I can't friggin' wait. Oh, Bob.
You okay? Yeah, I'll come on for that.
Special guest for
because when you're talking about all rules are off. It doesn't matter really.
You know that's my niche is Danzig. My unabashed love for a very imperfect man.
We're like sitting here expecting more from Zack Snyder because we kind of believe that there can be more. Right. Danzig, man, it's just throwing spaghetti at the wall. It doesn't matter, just whatever.
It's going to be great. But I will say this about Veronica. I've said this in the past. As a matter of fact, shout out to Kevin Von Spear, Kevin45. He said it best. He said, Veronica is Glenn Danzig, who has had some experience directing his music videos.
Yeah.
It's literally like, he's like, all right, I'm going to do a film. Okay. This is what happens. But it's like, It's a Glenn Danzig music video without any music. That's literally what it is.
It is, yeah. And
it's,
you know
it's
what?
a music video without music.
I remember watching Veronica the first time, and the first 5 minutes, I was like, "Wait, this might be actually kind of fun." And then of course, it's not very fun. No. But that first 5 minutes was actually kind of interesting for a second.
Oh, there's a 3D, there's a 3D CGI'd spider that crawls out of a vase. It's just
right.
And you know,
it's a shitty asylum movie made by Danzig.
It literally is. But you know what's fun? What's interesting? What's fascinating about Veronica is, and I really have to wrap this up. But
go for it.
What's fascinating about Veronica is the fact that you can almost even see, because Glenn Danzig has a language for cinema. He can talk about film with you. He knows his stuff. He's not illiterate. And what he's doing is he's taking all of the things that he really loves and trying to monkey or ape the aesthetics of them and not being able to execute. And that is literally what Veronica is. And it's easy to stomp on it and kick it while it's down because again, and it kind of deserves it, I would say.
I was gonna say it's fine if you do that.
It does, but when you actually look at it from that perspective, you see it for what it really is. And what it really is a guy. And again, I say this all the time. It applies to me and Bob. It applies to you. What do? We have taste and we have ability. And we're always trying to close the gap between our taste and our ability to maximize it. And you know who said that? And I thought it was brilliant. It was Tarantino. That's a Tarantino thing. And I'm like, man.
Hey, I usually defend my stuff by saying the stuff I like isn't necessarily stuff I'm trying to make. You know what I mean?
Yes, Danzig does do this. There is this, as Rue Morg, one of my avid listeners, like Ballad of the Broken, he says, the Danzig moment of, hey, you know what? That's what Danzig does. He thinks out loud to himself, hey, you know what?
Do you think, real quick, do you think Danzig was hoping for kind of a Rob Zombie?
Absolutely.
Do you think he was hoping for that?
Yes. He for 30 years he has wanted to be Rob Zombie before Rob Zombie, and then he saw Rob Zombie do it himself, and so he's like, all right, I'm gonna write a screenplay. It's called Gay Rouge, and he did it. And he's like, yeah, it's got a lot of violence. It's like it's a 12-year-old boy. It's like a 12-year-old boy and a 65-year-old man. That's how people really hate on Danzig. They just don't understand Danzig the way his fan base. We understand Danzig. He's just a grumpy old curmudgeon that's into shit that 12-year-old boys are into, and you can't take him seriously.
Hey, I think
just love
Aqua Teen defined him perfectly. I watched that Aqua Teen episode. It defines Danzig perfectly. Perfectly. So that is what it is. Imagine if he did a movie as dark as how Sam Hain Unholy Passion feels. Ballad of the Broken, excellently, very well said. Guys, I want to again thank Bob Rose. Check out Bob's channel, guys. Bob has he has Thunder Grunt. That's one channel. I don't have the link on me. I'll put that stuff. Later. It's thundergrunt.com is where you can find my podcast. And if you want my stuff, you can just look my name up. I'm right under where Bob Ross comes up a few times, and then Bob Rose comes up.
And he does. I'll tell you, I have seen what Bob is capable of as a filmmaker, and his stuff. No, for real.
I'm a silly guy.
Dude, he's super friggin' silly, and you guys would really appreciate him. So go check out his channels, give him a subscribe. And again,
thank you, man.
if you like this screenwriting stuff, he does a screenwriting podcast too.
Yep.
And they talk about the mechanics of screenwriting with our friend Jimmy George and who's the other guy?
And Jamie Nash, who actually just wrote Save the Cat Rights for TV. He wrote a Save the Cat book. So he's official. So
there you go.
Thank you for following me. I appreciate it, man.
Awesome. Guys, we have a fun way that we say goodbye here. By the way, check out all the things. Like, share, subscribe. This too. Make sure to subscribe. Check out the Patreon. Once again, we say peace and hair grease.
Hair grease.